for our dear friend, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you. My last name is Lang, so it's Leslie Lang. And having a last name is Lang, people think I'm going to be Asian. I'm not Asian. I mean, I wish I were, because then I'd finally be able to date a white guy. I know that sounds racist, but it's just absolutely true. I'll date a guy of any race. I'm just trying to complete my collection so I can move on to women. Hey there. So you would think that the climate change deniers are conservatives, right? Well, no, I have done my research, but no, I have done my research, and no, it's not the conservatives. It's just stupid people. And now they're organizing and becoming a protected class. That's just what we need, a protected class of stupid people. Actually, we already have that. It's our government. Mother Earth, of course, our planet is a female. And Mother Earth has been going through climate change for as long as I can remember. Too hot, too cold, too dry, too wet, foggy, and then the libido drops right to the equator. It's obvious and it's true. Mother Earth is going through menopause. And men, speaking of men, all you do is use and abuse Mother Earth. And then the next morning, you're headed to Walgreens thinking that there's a planet B. Guess what? There's no planet B. Online dating, since climate change is much different. You got a fish picture? I know you can feed us. You got a hunting picture? I know you can protect us. You got a marathon picture? I know you can outrun the zombies. Not the silicon zombies, because we like them. They got the big brains and the big bucks. So I saw Human online, and he did not have a fish picture, did not have a gun picture, did not have a marathon picture, but he had a picture of his bunker, and he claims that he has a really big, big, big generator. I swiped right. I'm still waiting to hear back. I'm still waiting. So I don't want to brag, but I got young guys coming to my house at all hours of the day and night. I love DoorDash. It's too bad they only deliver food. Anyway, I'm Leslie Lang. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for listening, and you're laughing.
Thank you, Leslie. Happy April Fools, everyone. Welcome, everybody, to the Park James Hotel. I know a lot of you are new. I see a lot of new faces. You don't have to stand. We have still plenty of seats, so please grab a seat. We are a boutique 62-room hotel, and we are proud to say we partner with the Silicon Zombies to do the speaker series events for free because we care about community, we care about this group, and we hope you are, part of this community. You come one time, you remember. A couple things. There are a lot of amazing people in this room, so please take the time to network with your neighbors and get to know them. Everybody here is doing something very innovative and cool. And talking about people who are doing stuff that's innovative and cool, I know there's a lot of founders in here and a lot of people searching for money. So I asked my buddy Greg to fly out from Florida because what Greg does is basically what you all need. Greg, come on up here. Tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Who loves this guy? Come on. Come on. Give him some more. He doesn't have enough, So I appreciate the time to come see you guys. Super honored to be here. Really for the most part of 30 years after getting out of the military after a war, I've been a business consultant, partnering with businesses. And one of the things that I've done and I've really enjoyed is helping to develop a strategy to go to market for funding for those who are actually starting new businesses. They're looking towards a blueprint to figure out, how do I get these funds? How do I get things to move in a direction that I need it to move, you know? And a lot of times someone will get funding and they have really the wrong idea to go to market. And so what we do is I've partnered with some people with Plan A Technologies, the founder of their Aaron, and we have the ability to actually do a nice audit for you guys and help with that so that you can figure out what's the best way to get funding or go to market for things. So it's been a passion of mine for so long. Just love helping businesses succeed. And this is a great opportunity for you guys to come together and have this time because, you know, cherish it. Spend the time to network and develop relationships because that's what's key in business. So appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Greg. Greg is sitting in the back, so at the end, he'll be here if you want to talk to him. All right, listen, you guys are all great, but the room feels cold. It feels cold. I wish you guys were warmer. I feel like we need to warm up the room. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Anthony Aria.
Hi everybody, how you doing? Alright, good to be here and play a song of mine for all the North Bay people out here. It's called Still Sunny in Sausalito. Oh, lover, blow my cover, go and lift the fog from your eyes. Oh, baby, I'm crazy, burning for a night after night. I saw you thinking, daydreaming about a sun in your sky. You said the city lights burn too bright, make me feel right at the line. Let me take you for a ride across the county line, where the sun still shines. Still sunny in Sausalito. I'm thinking we should get out of here when the city is bringing you down. Funny how the clouds can disappear. Sooner or later, the Golden Gate will make you feel right at home. Till that happens, circumstances make you feel all alone. Yeah. Let me take you for a ride across the county line, where the sun still shines. Still sunny in Sausalito. I'm thinking we should get out of here when the city is bringing you down. Funny how the clouds can disappear. Still sunny in Sausalito. I'm thinking we should get out of here when the city is bringing you down. Funny how the clouds can disappear. Still sunny in Sausalito. Baby, I'm thinking we should get out of here. When the city is bringing you down. Funny how the clouds can disappear, yeah. Still sunny in Sausalito. Baby, I'm thinking we should get out of here. When the city is bringing you down. Funny how the clouds can disappear. Oh, yeah. Let me take you for a ride. We'll cross the county line where the sun still shines.
Give it up for Anthony. That was
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Sean.
Well, Anthony's going to come back and he's going to close us out and he's going to tell you all about himself and where to listen to him and all the good stuff. So thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we're about to start the show. One thing for those of you who are new, when Nick does the intro, he says, from the Bay, and you guys have to say, and beyond. All right, perfect. Yves, Shaun, come on up, you guys. Oh, you guys are over here. This is your.
Thank you.
Oh, you have to turn.
All right, who's excited for some zombie action? Come on, let's see it. All right, go ahead. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 169 of Silicon Valley. From the Bay and beyond. What a beautiful treat it is to be here at the gorgeous Park James Hotel. I want to do a quick shout out for our friends at Nicodex. So if you're building a product and you need help with design or you need help with implementation or engineering development, that's NECODEX.com. These guys are fantastic and they've done some terrific work for our community. Well, speaking of which, I wanted to give another round of applause for Anthony for heating things up. Thank you for Anthony. And thank you, Leslie, for sharing some wonderful jokes too. Speaking of energy, we're discussing just that tonight. In fact, renewable energy and what's in store for green tech. So these guys are both also like world-class surfers. So I'm a little bit partial to that. Psyched to like dive in. Without any further ado, let's light this candle. Shaun, would you like to kick us off here?
Intro or
Yeah. Give us a little bit of your background.
is it working?
No, here, use this one. Go ahead, son. Go ahead.
Test. Born and raised in Maui, and I have a solar company out in Maui, and just selling residential and commercial systems, batteries and PV panels. That's about it. Met this good fine gentleman in Fiji last year surfing.
More on that later.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yves Béhar. I run a studio based in Lisbon and San Francisco called Fuseproject, and we've been around for 25 years this year. Not bad. And I just presented and shared with you guys our Tello truck, the EV startup that we're partners with.
All right, well, check. Hold on. I'm being blown out of the water.
Coming a little hot there, Herman.
Still too hot? All right, how's this? All right, thank you. Yves, I've known you since probably 2007, 2008, back in the Jawbone days. And that's when we first met. So my first question is for you. When it comes to design, I'm just dying to know whether it's Jawbone or the Voo Watch or SodaStream or Herman Miller chair or the August Smart Lock. Obviously, the designs go on and like, where are you getting your inspiration? What are you thinking about? What are you looking at? Like, where do these ideas for design come from when it comes to these products?
Well, for me, the ideas come from really observing the idiosyncrasies of modern life. There is lots of things that we use, lots of things that we do, lots of things that we want to experience. And I always look for these things that we don't ask for, the spaces, the experiences that we wish we had, and they're not around. They're not here. For example, a Bluetooth speaker you could carry around and move about, like the Jambox. That was not around until we made one. The Happiest baby Snoo with Dr. Harvey Karp, a bassinet for babies that actually provides you with a little bit more sleep every night.
So hold on, let's just go into that for a second. You look for the gaps in the market, you try to fill those gaps, but then when it comes to the actual design, like you're designing things that don't quite, like where are you looking at art? Is it film? Is it nature? Like where are you getting these designs from?
So that's a very common question I get. And I actually don't look at things. I love art. I love nature. I spend a lot of time in both of those environments. A lot of people confuse inspiration with sort of direct lifting of aesthetics. And instead, what I look for is really what the ideas, starting with the ideas. I start by writing, we create strategies, and then we're like, okay, we have to get this feeling out. We have to get this function to really work really well. We need to have a certain amount of expression. This has to say, this is the latest or greatest, so this has to say tactility, or this has to say new materiality. And so I really derive our designs from ideas, not from physical influence.
We're going to switch gears a little bit into the fascinating world of big wave surfing and energy. I mean, you're at the top of the class in both of these capacities. So maybe if you could share for the audience what it's like to tow into like a 60+ foot wave, which is terrifying, but then also like walk us through the inspiration from what it's like to build a business, and especially maybe in lieu of the Lahaina fires, if you could, Shaun.
Wow, that's a multi-dimensional. That's a really multi-dimensional question. Surfing is more just been about a lifestyle design for me more than anything, and it's been something that keeps me wanting to work hard, so I can be able to have the time to be able to surf, and then the other part is to be able to stay healthy and train, so I can be in those big days. And there's this surfing, those really big swells too. So they only happen finite amount of times a year, so they're got to be ready. You got to be ready. So it's just always just being game ready 365 days a year. So it's just being game ready. A day of day, it's those big days. There's, I don't know. It's not so much nerves. It's just excited for it. And you're actually somebody always comes back to fear, but really you're managing that. Fear is actually energy that you're using for those moments, and you're managing the fear, and then it's a risk assessment towards those things. So
aside from like breathing, what are some other ways you can manage fear? I'm just trying to think like what are some practical application for the audience? Xanax. Thank you. That could be trouble.
No, I mean, you hit it on the head. Breathing more than anything. It's visualization, preparedness. I think risk assessment more than anything. Like we're going out on those really big days. It's like summiting Everest or something. You have a safety team, and you're not doing it alone. And it's just risk management more than anything. So it's just all the little dots are in place. Yeah. The rescue team, the skis, the boards, the gear.
Who's your Sherpa, if I can ask?
We got a big team. My dad's one of my lead safety guys, and he's been one of my best drivers over the years. But I'll give it my dad, hands down.
I've served with his dad. I've been towed by his dad, and he's sort of he's the boss out there. He has the authority, he has the seniority, and that's something interesting about big wave surfing is that seniority counts, right? You respect your elders. His father is 72?
73 now.
73, still getting towed into Jaws. So that's something I aspire to.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about surfing, let's stay on this theme for a second. Nick, you're going to be a panelist for this question because the reason these three guys know each other is because they surf together, just so you know. From a mental health standpoint, and obviously in your work, what does surfing do for you so that you're able to perform at peak, ability? Yeah, well, all three of you, each one of you have to answer this one.
Well, I think what Shaun said is really true. Preparation is, you're preparing towards something. And for me, risk and fear is sort of part of my everyday life. I've worked on 100 startups and, being a partner in 100 startups, equity, royalty, other ROI mechanisms in the last 15 years. And, some people are incapable to working on one. Right. It's just the risk kind of is something that exists in you, or it's something that you prepare for and you manage, and it allows you to go for it when the opportunity comes. And so I feel exactly the same way as in being in design and in startups, as being an apprentice to Shaun and other people in big wave surfing. Which is, it's all about preparation, it's all about feeling ready, and it's all about a team. And the camaraderie that comes from the team is really what makes you feel surrounded and able to take on these challenges.
Shaun, what's it do for your mental health, bro?
It's a bad habit. The FOMO part's probably the most, I think, when you're missing out some of those ones. But for the mental health, it's a reason to get up and stay healthy as well. And just what I said in the first question you asked me is just being game ready 365 days a year, because you don't really know when those ones are there. So we train year round, and it's why I work hard, why I stay healthy, why I want to provide for my family and manage my time really well.
Nice. Nick, what's it do for you, bro?
All sorts of stuff. It's taught me a bunch of lessons, Human. I would say, having the right kind of equipment is a big one. And it's also taught me patience. Quick story. Last Friday, we were in the Presidio with Shyama Bunton, who hosted Women's. Anna was there. And it was a really cool experience because I learned a bunch. One of the things that I learned is if something scares you, that probably means you should be doing it. Tomorrow is not promised. So if you run after the thing that scares you, and even if you fail, you're going to learn. But if you tackle it and you ride that massive wave, like I remember getting hooted into a wave at Cloudbreak that was like overhead, like not just by measurement, but also it was like a way too aggressive of a wave for me typically. Bianca, who's a friend of ours and like the top big wave female surfer in the world right now, she was like, paddle. And so I scratched into this thing and it lipped over me and I was terrified. Like typically you're supposed to like stall and get even deep in the barrel. I was pumping. I wanted out of this thing. But when I skated off into the channel, I just like, my heart was beating. It gave me a memory that I will have for the rest of my lifetime. And, it's like one of those things where it looks scary when it's coming after you, but turn around and breathe and be present and rock and roll. And once you do it, there's nothing else like it. So, and that applies for business too. If something scares you, chase it, and get your community, get your people around you, and you might surprise yourself. So,
oh, that was great, Nick. I love that. All right, Shaun, let's talk about solar. That's your area of expertise. What have the improvements of solar been the last 20 years? What are we getting today that we didn't get 20 years ago?
Nothing. We were just having this discussion on the way up, and there's a famous clip in the marketing world. It's like from the 70s that the new energy is coming, and it's here, but there's really been no leaps or bounds. I've been selling solar panels and batteries for 20 years now, and there's really been nothing breakthrough on the points parts, on efficiency. It's been form and aesthetics more than anything. But they get a couple points every year. Like the panels, when I first started, they were at 250 watts, and now a stock panel's 450 watts. If anything, they're just getting bigger and turning into barn doors, but a cell is a cell.
Can you surf one of those? No?
Kailaning, maybe.
So someone will buy some panels from you. And they want them in their home. What's your role after that? Are you doing any sort of design with these panels?
A panel's a panel. It looks like a TV right there at the end of the day. But the question every system is an original design. When you come up to when I meet with a client, one of the first questions I ask is, what's your why? Why are you doing this? And it's a function of how much power they need and want in their home. What's the microclimate they're in? How much sun is really hitting that house? What's the long-term goals? In Hawaii, we have the highest energy rates, and generally it's an investment product more than anything when you're really looking at what solar is. And that's kind of the most of my clients are looking at it first. So it's either an investment product or is it to be green? And most lean into the investment product first and foremost. We have the highest energy rates, we have the best tax credits available, and the best sun. So we have pretty much the shortest ROI payback period in the nation right now, under 5 years.
So one more thing about solar panels. Okay, there hasn't been a huge improvement at all. Do you see anything happening in the future?
It's a function. They're getting prettier at the end of the day.
Well, there it is.
There is. What it is, they're building it at scale now and bringing it back home. And they are getting cheaper. That's at the end of the day, they are getting cheaper.
So what was the cost 5 years ago? What's it today?
I think when I started, it was about $9 a watt installed system without batteries. That's on Maui. Install price is really expensive. And now a installed system with the top of the line batteries is $6 a watt on Maui, probably $6 or $7 a watt. I think it's a lot cheaper over here, probably down to like $5 a watt.
We'll get to like 2 cents per kilowatt per hour, which means like energy is essentially free. So we can power all these different data centers. No, is this not?
Yeah, yes, it is. And it really just depends on the market and where you're at. Like if you go to Australia, it's incentivized by the government, and all the incentives go straight to the installer, and the homeowner is only paying for the labor piece of it, and everything's subsidized on the end of it. You go to some of these like third world markets, and there's no sales reps market. It's just you're paying for the really cheap panel, and that's it. It's under $2 a watt.
I'm a little bit surprised to hear that there hasn't been much in the space of innovation. I heard not too long ago that they're putting solar panels like 8 feet, 10 feet over farmland, because it's not having an impact on the crops, but you've also got this,
it's still a cell's a cell. It's a computer chip at the end of the day. That's silicon wafer. And so they're gaining points, but then all they're doing is they're spreading those wafers out a little more. So it's penetrating, or they're bifacial, and then now the light's coming through it. So.
All right, we're going to ask probably 2 more questions, and we're going to open up to you guys. Yves, all right, so because you teased this, I didn't know you were going to mention this. I have a question. This is one of the questions you're not prepared for. You've been a part of 100 startups. How do you know, and if you want to name names, do it. We're fine with it. How do you know when to jump ship? How do you know that like this thing was sold to me in a certain way, or it's just not like, what are your like markers?
You mean when do I give up?
Or when do you leave, or when do you say this is no longer for me? That's not necessarily your startup, because I know people are bringing you in, right?
Yeah. So what I love to do, I've been 6 times a co-founder, but the rest of the time I'm a partner. And what I love is to bring and create a lot of value as a partner. So for me, I never give up. I think that's part of, unless everybody else does, right? But I'm not, I don't feel, you really have to believe that that it's going to make it, even though you know that the percentage of startups that make it is rather small. But I think it takes sort of a special, singularly focused mind, somebody that doesn't mind the pain, and that has to be for the whole team, right? The CEO, the CTO. I'm usually the chief creative, but you have to be able to get through, the ups and the downs and the drama and the fundraising rounds. You have to be obstinate, and you have to believe. And I have zero formula for what makes great success. I've had founders which I thought were the most brilliant people I have ever met, and the company failed. And I had founders where I was looking at, my business partners inside the company, where we would look at each other after a while, and we'd be like, I don't know about these guys. And you know what? $1 billion companies. So I think timing is certainly something that I've learned about. I've worked on plenty of startups and plenty of ideas and plenty of technologies that were a little too early. That's one. One thing that I'm wary of is overfunding. I've seen that as a big marker of failure, when you have too much money and you sort of lose your focus on efficiency and getting there. So I really like startups with founders that have the experience and that are pretty strict about how much they need, and that too much can be too much. So there's a few things that I look for, a few signs, but I wouldn't say that I have sort of a set of criteria that determine the success or failure of a startup at this stage.
Shaun, you want to tag in here?
I'm going to bring it back to surfing, and I'll use a word that I've learned hanging out with it is staunch, and his home break is ocean beach. So if anybody's ever tried to paddle out to this wave, it's very difficult, and you have to not give up.
I think as a surfer in general, and as somebody, as an entrepreneur in general, you need to love punishment. You need to be okay with that. You need to be okay with getting beat up. You need to be okay with, just being humiliated. Sometimes happens a lot in the water. It happens in business as well. And I think it's that thick skin, and be feeling like you're self-propelled, and that you don't always need the acknowledgement of others, or to be in a comfortable situation, or to feel fully supported at all times. That's what the drive is, I think, for big wave surfing and for startups.
Just to kind of tag on that, when you said never give up, it made me think of Finding Nemo. And I remember we were surfing I think it was called Swimming Pools, the place. And there was a tiny, cute, what are those fish? The little Finding Nemo fish? The clownfish. And this thing just would not leave your side. So you're like Dr. Dolittle in my book. What was that experience like?
I've had a few experiences in the ocean that have changed my life. So that was my life. I mean, that was one of them. I mean, another one, it's basically a little fish that stayed with me for 25 minutes, even after I duck dived on the waves, and even after I got crushed by a wave, the fish was still there. I'm like, what is it doing? But I also had one time, I was in a surf session north of Santa Cruz, and I got literally sprayed by a whale. I thought it smelled fishy. I looked around, and there was nothing. And then suddenly I get this splash of water behind my head, and I turn around and I'm right on top of a whale. So, these are extraordinary moments, exceptional moments, and you need to put yourself in situations for the unexpected to happen. We're way too driven by comfort in America, in the US in general. Being uncomfortable is good for you. That's what exercising is about. That's what preparation is about. That's what being in the cold ocean is about. That's why being in a risky startup is about.
Do you want to say anything about that? Or should we open it up?
I was saying that fish is probably hiding from a bigger fish.
Maybe I was protection.
You probably have a million extraordinary experiences in the ocean. Can you give us one before I open it up to the audience? Come on.
Great white, tiger shark.
I'll give you one. I was guiding for a client, and we're on a boat on the Tuamotus in Tahiti and the outer atolls, and we got skunked on surfing and wind, and then it turned into a scuba diving mission more than anything. We did like 3 scuba dives, and so we did an outer ledge dive, and we did every kind of dive you want, drift dives, night dives, and so this day we're like, let's go to the outer ledge, burn a tank at about 80 feet, and basically it goes 70 degrees down to 1,000 feet from dry reef down. And so we went about 70 feet and burned a tank. And it was straight out of a David Attenborough Discovery show, and every fish you could ever imagine. And next thing you know, these 2 bottlenose dolphins came up to us. And this one came up and let me rub its belly. And we had an eye-to-eye conversation at 80, 90 feet. And its eyes were as full of soul and spirit and intelligence. And it was like looking at him and going, hey, what's up? What are you doing down here? And we were over the horizon on this boat. And it was just blew my mind. Like,
oh, that's awesome. Well, I have so many more questions, but I don't want to be greedy. All right, you guys know who these two are. Who has the courage to ask the first question? Oh, could you pass this mic back to?
This question goes to Yves. You're in part responsible for that beautiful gem out there. Can you explain a little more about the design process that went into it? Was it a problem that needed to be solved, or was it just like a fever dream that became real?
Here, let me have I did it wrong. No, you did it great. You know what? I forgot to bring up the CEO of the Tello car, Jason. Come up here. So this is the car that we all saw outside, and do you want to answer his question and tell everybody about the car? You can have my seat.
So your question was about the design and the process. Is that really around? And Yves should comment on the design because he was really on the design and process, but I'll give you some of the genesis of the company. So I actually sketched out in a notebook back in 2016 the idea of a mini truck. I just come back from my first international trip to Japan, and I was like, God, they got it figured out. They got tiny trucks there, and they work in downtown cities, and they're everywhere. Turns out they're number 1 through 5 most popular vehicles in Japan are a size smaller than the size of a Mini Cooper. And I was kind of digging in, like, why don't we have that in the US? Like, well, maybe because we're just bigger human beings and larger in all dimensions, and we can't do that. Maybe because we go faster, have more strict safety regulations. So I sketched up all these reasons why I thought that we couldn't do this in the US. And I realized that, well, none of these things stop us actually from doing this in the US. We just need to make a couple adjustments to what they did in Japan, really make it for the US demographic, and then people, they might want it. So actually it's sketched up in a graph paper notebook. We still have that hanging on our wall in the office today of here's how I think we might go about solving the problem of getting a tiny mini truck into the US markets dedicated for downtown cities. And I had no idea how to make it beautiful. So Forrest and I were going down this avenue, Forrest, my CTO, the co-founder, going down this avenue and saying, hey, how would we actually make this thing a reality? And Forrest goes, well, if you're going to sell it, it's got to look good. No one's going to want this thing. So we hired a couple of designers before we had talked to Yves and kind of got a bunch of UTV golf cart looking vehicle sketches out of that. And Forrest looked at me and goes, none of this is working for me. But I got a friend who can make this thing beautiful. And he called up Yves, and I think you were on a surf trip at the time, maybe.
No, I was in Lisbon. But I remember that evening because I had worked with Forrest on a couple of other projects before, and I was at dinner in the streets, and he calls me, and I take a quick walk, because I do answer calls from entrepreneurs and friends. And he told me about the vision, and I was like, "This is extraordinary. I don't relate to these massive, pickup trucks that we have in the U.S. I understand the need for something smaller, more agile, and I also really deeply understand the reason for EVs, because I've been driving an EV exclusively as my only car. I've had a couple of different ones, but since 2012. So I have 13 years of driving EVs, and in those 13 years, it made me realize that one of the key elements is the possibilities for a completely different driving experience that resides in EV cars, and yet that opportunity hasn't been taken by, I believe, any EV company. And what Jason and Forrest were conceiving is a vehicle that is, what we call third generation EV vehicles. So everything from the layout, from the sort of battery configuration, the engine configuration, everything is built for efficiency, instead of building something that just looks like old cars and has electricity in it.
Jason, let me ask you a few quick questions. How many miles does it get on a full charge?
Yeah, so the battery pack we built ourselves, by the way. It's 106 kilowatt hours in that tiny footprint. And for reference, in that footprint of a 2-door Mini Cooper, the EV version of that is a 33 kilowatt hour battery pack. So we get 350 miles of range in that footprint.
Okay, and when is the car available?
So we're in there's now the next stage to go to production intent, which will spawn the first build for production. That is a period of between 12 and 18 months until we deliver our first vehicles.
And what's the cost?
Vehicle starts at 41,520. Goes up beyond 50,000 if you get all the bells and whistles.
And what are the bells and whistles?
There's a dual motor version with 500 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. The big battery pack for 350 miles. We have options in your neck of the world. Solar for vehicles is an interesting topic. There's a lot of people that say, hey, I can build a solar powered vehicle and drive it forever. And that might be possible if you build a very, very, very specific type of vehicle. For the general, small, very lightweight, very aerodynamic, slow. But for us, what we do is we have solar options for the roof and the camper shell of the vehicle. And what that enables you to do is if you park your vehicle outside during the day, you can get back to the vehicle knowing you'll have at least more state of charge than it left at. You're not going to have the problem of residual drain. If you go for a long hiking trip, you go park the vehicle out in an exposed parking lot, you go for a 20-mile trip, you come back to your car, you're going to have enough power to charge your phone overnight and get some AC going in the car. That's what really we see.
And is the car still out there? Or did you put it away?
We put it away because it was starting to rain.
Okay.
And we did not want to have any water intrusion.
Well, listen. Oh, is it waterproof?
It is waterproof. Okay. I might call it water resistant.
Okay. All right.
It's not raining now.
Yeah.
Well, it's back.
They want it back. All right. Listen, Jason's going to be around. If you guys have any questions for him, thank you, Jason. And sir, thank you, because I forgot. All right. Who else has a question? All right. I like this guy.
Awesome that you guys are surfers. I'm Garrett Kinsman. I'm building nuclear reactors, and I had this great debate with Yves earlier today about why should a nuclear reactor look beautiful if it's something you're going to throw in a aircraft-resistant bunker, basically. And as a designer, I've been an industrial designer for 10 years. I think it's a really interesting debate, pulling apart battery packs, pulling apart motors. Why should things that are unseen be beautiful?
Because beauty isn't just a coating. It's not just a. It's an impression. So if you're selling power, right, or with a mini nuclear reactor, I believe that it should express what it is about. And that is a good reflection on your brand. It's a good reflection on what you're trying to do. It's a good reflection for your customers who are looking to trust your brand. Trust is going to be a major factor in selling a nuclear reactor to people. And by the way, trust is very important, whether you're selling a car, like the Tello truck, whether you're building an August smart lock. Trust is the number one thing that you need to establish with your customer base. And design can express that trust, can help you make people feel like you have considered all the elements, all their worries, all their fears into the final product.
Can you hear me? Can you give Garrett your mic? I have a couple questions for him. All right, since you're here, I assume you're building these nuclear power plants for AI, correct?
No, if you look at the economics, it doesn't quite make sense to make electricity with a nuclear reactor. So we're using it to produce isotopes.
Oh, you are?
So producing medical isotopes. We want to breed fuel. So producing uranium for other nuclear reactors.
So from start to finish, how much does one nuclear reactor cost?
Bill of materials, unfueled, it's like $200,000.
Fueled, how much?
Fueled, let's call it $1 million.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
100 kilowatts, really tiny. And with the insurance and the labor and all that stuff, it'll be more. Isotopes are the universe is made up of little bits of matter, and there's different versions of that matter. And each version of that matter does different things. And so in our case, we're producing an isotope that's used for cancer diagnosis. And there's a big shortage of it here because most of it comes from Russia. And you create that isotope by bombarding it with radiation. And you convert one element into another element. That element can.
And which state has the least regulations for you to be able to build these?
Texas.
It's always Texas, isn't it?
It's always Texas.
And be honest, how brutal is California?
You can't build anything.
Oh, there it is.
I tried building.
Welcome to California, everybody.
I tried building a tiny house in California, and it's a no.
All right. Thank you, Garrett. That was great. All right. Who else has a question? Come on. If not, I have a million. Oh, could you hand this mic to the...
What are you looking for? What ticks you? What's the next frontier? Whether it's an ocean or in enterprise or startups.
So I'll do this one. I'm known for, I think, a lot of diversity in the work that in the projects that I work on, and I really love this notion that there is so much cross-pollination between different projects, different industries, and so next week I'm launching 2 projects at the Salone, the Milan Furniture Fair, for example. One of them is the first, bathroom ceramics, your sinks, your toilets, your bathtubs. It's the first line of products produced on a 100-meter long, 330 feet long electric kiln that is fed by a solar farm, right? And to me, to be able to sort of demonstrate that you can do a zero emissions product line with a leader in the space is something that I could never say no to, right? So cars, sinks, lots of tech products. I'm very excited about designing toilet paper right now.
What's exciting
no
about
joke.
that?
Well, I love things that are incredibly rare, like cars, and but I've also designed things with Mayor Bloomberg in New York. I've designed things with Gavin Newsom when he was mayor, and because I do believe that we can bring that design isn't just an expensive varnish to put on things. I really truly believe that design is an essential component of everything that gets made. And I love sort of demonstrating what can happen at the high end, at the middle end, and at the low end. And with toilet paper, there's a lot of opportunities, but I can't tell you what it's going to be because I'm working on it right now.
You want to shout it out?
Salone di Mobili 3 years ago, black toilet paper was hysterical. Just to leave you to it. Are you going on that route?
Well, no, the company I'm working with is the only company in the world that makes black toilet paper.
I have a feeling, you two might be a little intimidating, and it's obviously hard to get access to you guys. How can somebody work with you? I mean, today they're going to hang out and you guys can talk to them, but this is a rare opportunity. So are you?
I got a blog and a podcast myself. This is how we connected, and that's like my little lead gen tool for doing all my design work on Maui.
So if somebody messages you, are you?
The Bowie Report podcast, thebowiereport.com. Yeah.
We'll include that in the show notes.
I don't believe I'm hard to access. I don't believe in this notion that you're going to build walls around yourself, that you're going to live in a neighborhood that has, gates and walls. I really feel, and I put a lot of energy in being around the world and meeting people, talking to people with ideas, talking to people with great ideas and people with, bad ideas. But I feel like there is so much to do, so much to make, so much to build that walls really don't serve, that purpose. So you can email me, text me, contact me on IG. People are surprised. I respond. I'm interested.
That's awesome. All right. Who's next? Don't be shy. He's accessible. You have one? Anybody? Oh, could you?
Frankie in the back.
Oh man, you're all the way in the back.
Oh yeah. I know that surfing is really all about style. At some points, right? Grassroots surfing is all about style. What would you say is like some of your best stories about someone's playing style in a startup?
Style in a startup. That's a good one.
Oh.
For the next one, we're going to pass this
That's
time.
on you.
Well, something funny about surfing is like how you think you're surfing in your mind is very different from what you see in pictures and videos.
Video doesn't lie.
It's very humbling, and I think you have to be willing to look terrible most of the time. There's about 100 people that make it look really good in the world, and there's a few million of us that just admittedly look terrible. So, and style in a startup, I would say, I love humility and I love efficiency. I think people who are trying to project too much hubris, is I don't find that like an attractive quality. I like to be able to feel like, hey, we're going to work through this, through the night at this little side, coffee shop down the street. It doesn't matter. It's, can you share your issues, your problems, your challenges, your dreams? And can you do that, in a humble fashion? So we all work together on solving a simple or a complex problem. That's what, I think style is not about projecting sort of unreal and, overwrought kind of expectations. It's about kind of working at it.
Our next question is back there.
Thanks. Michael with WeVents.vip, a new company. I have two questions, one for Shaun and one for Yves. One for Shaun is, I'm curious about wind energy. It's had kind of a large trial. We've had huge windmills all over the Bay Area, different outside the Bay Area and all over America. How is that going? Is that working? Does that seem like it's the future? Is there new technology coming out? How's that working? And so that's my first question. Go with that one, then I'll listen it.
I'll give you my perspective from Maui. So there's a handful of big wind farms. There's one, if you've ever flown in, it's on public land, and people always think there's 20 of these huge ones going up the hillside. If you ever driven to Lahaina, you would see it. Everybody's like, oh, we're so green, but really it gives about 5% of the island's energy. It's publicly owned by a PPA, which is a power purchase agreement, or actually a feed-in tariff, a FIT. They're selling it back to the utility. It's an investor group that sells it back to the utility at a wholesale rate, and they're making money on it. And basically it just comes back at full retail to the customers. So the customers really don't see the benefit of that. But it does take away on the green value. At the end of the day, Hawaii and Maui in general is like a diesel generated island. So there's that benefit. I've seen it on the small scale. What I've learned is you better be good with the tools. It's an engine with bearings, and if you can work on a car and it works, and if you got a good wind little tunnel, it's good because it goes 24 hours. Most people aren't good with the tools, and if you got to be able to change the oil yourself, that's kind of what I've seen.
Hey, thanks. And Yves, question for you is, you've been involved 100 startups, partner, that's really cool, and some big ones and cool stuff outside here. So I'm just curious, someone with a new company got an alpha kind of demo ready, but no corporate structure yet, pre-seed. What would you suggest in terms of corporate structure, just approaching initial investors for the seed round? What kind of corporate structure would be a good one to sort of visualize a bigger company that can grow?
I don't know that I give advice on corporate structure. I mean, I do bring financial and legal advisors sometimes, people I like, but I've really worked at every scale. I've worked with, Uber when they had, they were raising like there was no tomorrow. And I've also worked with the single entrepreneur, and we go for coffee and we brainstorm what can be done in a certain field. Actually, a couple of those have become co-founders. And so I feel like ideas are something that you need to help grow. They're like babies, small children. You need to kind of feed them. You need to support them. You need to help someone kind of bring their vision to life. If you like the vision, if you like being a part of it. The one thing that is clear today is that there are a lot of great angels. There's a lot of great seed and pre-seed and family rounds that can be done. And so it's maybe easier than it was, I would say 15, 20 years ago to get something started. It is harder to get the institutional investors to go for your A round and B round and C round. So that's kind of the phase that we're in.
Does somebody else? Oh, please.
Hi.
Hi.
You were kind enough to have lunch with me and my mom in 2018 January at your location in San Francisco at Fuseproject. She unfortunately has passed away, but thank you for being at lunch with us that day. I'm really inspired by how you've taken this time to like become a partner with the companies that you work with as opposed to just a service provider. Can you talk about how you transitioned from just working on a fixed basis and why you did that? What was your inspiration behind that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and thank you for the lunch as well. It's a great question because there is. Sorry, I just we'll edit that out, but.
This is live.
Oh, it's live. Great. Because what I discovered in the mid 2000s is that, startups were very ambitious and they were ready to compete with the big, slow, corporations that were not embracing change. And yet they were at a huge disadvantage because they didn't have, world-class design supporting them. They didn't have, and so when you compete with Apple and some, Hewlett Packard and some of the other players at that time, it was very intimidating to go against them. But that's what design can do. Design today, as consumers, we're, I would say less influenced by the big companies and more interested in what's happening, what's next, who is creating the next generation of the things that we want. And so design can really do that. And so I basically said, well, these startups don't have the finances to hire me like the big companies do. And I like risk and I like challenges and I like challenging the status quo. And so I have to find a way to create a business model that will allow me to work long-term with these companies, have my incentives lined up with the founders, and, take some big bets, take some risks. And that's how we came up with this design venture model in the mid 2000s. It's something we do 5-6 times a year, every year. And all over the world, from Poland to, China to, every continent we've worked in.
We have one more question, then I have 2 more questions, then we'll be all done. We'll bring Anthony back up. Keith, you're up.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks, Suman. So the question for either or both is, with AI, of course, and being in your fields, AI, is that a existing threat, existential threat? Is that an augmentation tool? And then assuming in either case, how do you preserve empathy and authenticity into your designs with using these tools?
So for me, AI is a tool, and that's a word that you use in your question. And of course, having had Fuseproject for 25 years, I've seen lots of tools over the years that have arrived. I feel that AI can be an incredible tool towards empathy when it's used with the right product, right? So when you think about the Happiest baby Snoo, when you think about the Moxie robot that helps kids, on the spectrum learn, when you think about LEQ, all projects I've worked on, LEQ is an aging companion. It's actually amazing what AI can do when it's purpose-built for a specific audience, a person who is sick, a person who is aging, a young family. It's incredible. I find AI a lot less compelling when we talk about everyday tasks, when we talk about helping us with our writing and with our drawing and with our photography. It's there is a very interesting study that I've cited a couple of times. I think Carnegie Mellon did it, And it basically studied hundreds of workers, hundreds of employees that use AI on a regular basis. And what they found is the critical skills went down when people used AI. So again, if you have a beautiful writing style, why don't you write? If you have a beautiful sketching style or illustration style, why don't you do that? Because that's always going to be more unique and beautiful. And of course, I'm not worried about us. People in this room, people on the stage, we're comfortable. We're older. We've learned those things. We've learned those skills. I'm always worried about the teens, of course, if I was a teen today, I like shortcuts. But where's my opportunity to learn? And I think that's the dark side, I think, of AI. The bright side of AI is use it all you want for these communities that really need it. In the medical field, it's extraordinary what is happening with that.
All right, so 2 last questions. One, from a design standpoint, what are you excited about that's coming out that we should know about? Both of you guys.
I'm excited for Shaun to find some revolution and excitement in solar.
I'll bring it back. One of my best friends is one of the bigger architects on Maui, and we're doing these big homes, and we always are battling how early I get in on the design phase of that home. And it's this form versus function question with him. And he's always like, you're dirtying up my roof. So I'm like, well, make me a bigger, nice, clean roof, and I could fill it nice and easy. Get me in early so I'm not putting conduits in these ugly spots. And it's just getting in there early for me. And that's kind of the design phase. And that's coming back to, they are making it prettier. And that's the leaps and bounds that I keep seeing is the aesthetics pieces and making it integrated and clean, and just it's making the designs cleaner, and then just the form over function.
Maybe on Mars one day.
Yeah. And then lastly, obviously there's a lot of startup people here. Do you invest 360, or are you very specific with the things you like to invest in? And what specifically do you invest in? Both of you guys.
Well, I invest in, whether it's sweat equity, sometimes it's cash in every startup I work with. But in terms of...
Yeah, like strictly tech, strictly AI.
Oh, no.
Do you do art? Do you do film? Like, what are you investing in?
Well, I have a real estate, co-working, business. My partner is here in the room. I really want to see, Tello, make it to market. We have close to 8,000 reservations, which is, I think, about over 8,000 reservations. The numbers keep going up, which represents about 350 or 400 million in orders. I want to see these things come to life because I feel that they are just so much better, than what's in the market today. They're safer. They have more functionality than what's out there. They're affordable. And of course, they're, incredibly, energy efficient. So I'm going to keep doing that, whether it's, the next EV car company, whether it's toilet paper. I feel like every industry, every product that we use every day is worthy of its next iteration, its next stage.
Mine's a little abstract, but it's time. I got a young family, and I got so many cool things going on in my life with my businesses, but I have to be very strict with what my time gets invested in. I'm very disciplined with my time blocking. I have my family time, my health time, and my business time, and my surfing time.
But are you strictly investing only in renewable energy?
The cash, where my cash is going?
Yeah, where's your money going? Yeah.
I have my media company, and my company right now is Maui Energy Advisors. I'm all in on my own personal company.
Hold on, one for Leslie.
Do your wives surf, or do they enjoy a couple hours of solitude in the morning? And then also, second question is, when you're surfing, are you just in the moment, or are you there and you're coming up with new ideas?
Two great questions. yes, my wife surfs, my kids surf, but she also enjoys 2 hours, by herself meditating in the morning. And she does it all, works, the whole 9 yards. And for me, surfing is so interesting because it's very hard to think about anything else. And there's very few places in our lives today where we don't have distraction, where the phone isn't buzzing in your pocket, where your mind isn't constantly jumping from one idea to the other. I really find that surfing is one of these places where, whether you're good at meditation or not, really no distraction can come in, because every wave that's coming at you, every set, you have to be ready for. You have to be observant of nature and the environment that you're in. And that's such a rare treat in this world that we live in.
My wife doesn't surf. She gives two shits about surfing. She didn't care who I was. It was actually awesome. And so, but she loves the ocean. And what he just said, you do have to be hyper present. And even just being in the water, it's very spiritual. It's just such a cleansing thing when I'm in the water. And then when you're truly riding a great wave, a big wave where you're absolutely hyper present, it's almost like a spirit where you're elevated to another realm of present. I don't know how to put it, but you're just there. Yes.
Beautifully put. We always want to make sure that we're valuable to our guests. So maybe is there a website you'd like to plug, or how can folks connect with you who are tuning in, our virtual zombies here?
My solar design and engineering firm is Maui Energy Advisors.io, and my media company is thebuoyreport.com, where you can find the podcasts and blogs and long form and all the socials.
For me, place a reservation. It's only $152 because it's 152 inches long for Teller Trucks. So tellertrucks.com and Fuseproject.com, which is my design agency. And you can always see a little bit of my life on IG at Yves Béhar.
All right, you guys, they're going to hang out for a while. Don't worry, they're not going to sneak out. And thank you, guys. That was incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to bring back our amazing musician, Anthony. But Anthony, I want to do a quick interview with you. Come here. You want to use that mic? You can talk on that mic.
Yeah, sure.
All right, how old are you? Hold on.
I'm 22 years old.
22 years old. And where do you live?
I was born in San Francisco, grew up in Santa Cruz. It's a good surfing town. So
Nice.
Santa Cruz and San Francisco.
And
The Voice at 15.
That's right. Yeah. When I was 15, I was on The Voice and went through 3 rounds on national television.
And tell us about some of your upcoming gigs.
Yeah, I play all over the Bay Area. In fact, in Palo Alto, they have a Cal Avenue anniversary, Palo Alto Cal Ave, that my full band's going to play at May 15th. So come on by if you're
Anything else?
Well, yeah, I'm looking to get to the next step now and getting signed by a label or other financial backing. And I've been playing full time since graduating Stanford 2023 in political science and minored in computer science. And then, I was like, Stanford's my backup plan. I'm pursuing music full time. So, we'll see.
And if anybody's connected to the Mountain Winery, I think you'd love to get in there.
I was talking with Nick earlier about, some of these goals of playing some venues around the Bay Area. I'd love to play at the Mountain Winery. Yeah.
And what's your website?
AnthonyAria.com. My last name's Arya. So, come see a show sometime. Yeah.
And tell us about this next song you're about to sing.
Yeah, I'll close out with a new song of mine.
What's it called?
It's called Some People.
Okay. What's the inspiration behind it?
Oh, I write songs from all different experiences, but this one was just kind of putting myself in a place where it's like, people are born with different faculties and abilities and connections, but it's about what you really put your mind to. So I think it's something about my self-affirmation.
All right, let's hear it. Thank you, Anthony.
All right.
Some people got a whole lot of money, some people got fame, some people got lots of love, some people got faith, some people got a long time coming, some people been made, you know. I'm just looking for a place in the morning, so when it's start a new day, you know. Can't help it when the storm starts coming, and don't like it when the rain clouds roll in. Only thing you gotta keep on doing is get on your way. I've been thinking that it's only right, you get yours and I get mine, but ain't it funny when you look and find that the rich man come rob me blind. Some people gotta look in the eye, it makes you wonder what they keep inside. Some people show you all the love, and then they find out they're the only one. Some people got freedom ringing, some people got the chains that they live with. Some people wanna set you free, other people wanna keep you weak. Can't help it when the storm starts coming, you don't like it when the rain clouds roll in. Only thing you gotta keep on doing is get on your way. I've been thinking that it's only right, you get yours and I get mine, but ain't it funny when you look and find that the rich man come rob me blind. Mama said you gotta keep on trying, even when you're at the end of the line. Some people gonna slow down, others gonna keep on climbing. Oh yeah. Some people get so hell-bent on getting something that they don't have yet. Some people get wined and dined, and some people working 9 to 5. Some people got a long time coming and been made, you know. I'm just looking for a place in the morning, so when it's time a new day, yeah. Can't help it when the storm starts coming, you don't like it when the rain clouds roll in. Find comfort when you're down and busted, gonna find your way. I've been thinking that it's only right, you get yours, I get mine, but ain't it funny when you look and find that the rich man come rob me blind. Mama said you gotta keep on trying, even when you're at the end of the line. Some people gonna slow down, others gonna keep on climbing. Some people gonna slow down, others gonna keep on climbing. Oh yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anthony. All right, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. If you're not on our guest list, come find me and I'll add you to the guest list. And Shaun's still here, so bombard him. Thank you, everyone.
Time after time,
I am lost without you in my world. I need you. I cannot rest. I